Welcome to the Mad Love Your Life show. I'm Mary D, the Joy Catalyst, here to be your host and transformation guide. Mad Love is about the mad, making a difference, and love is what we serve up to live a delicious life. My intention is to help you spark new ideas, break limiting beliefs, and align with your deepest dreams and desires. Get ready for laughter, inspiration, and finding your inner roar in every show. Hey, beautiful soul. Welcome back to the Mad Love Your Life show. I am your host, Mary D, business and life strategist, your transformation guide, and your trusted co-pilot for turning life's pivots into purpose. If you are standing in a season of change, maybe it's a business block or a relationship shift or a rediscovery of who you're becoming, I hope you will take a deep breath, because you're not behind. You are in the right place at the right time, and you don't have to do it alone. Around here, we blend strategy with soul, because real clarity isn't just about having a plan. It's about feeling grounded and confident and excited for what's next. I help purpose-driven humans like you simplify whatever is feeling heavy to get you back on track and expand what's possible for the future with integrity, with intention, and with joy. So if your heart's whispering or maybe screaming that it's time for more ease, more clarity, and more impact, then you can head over to maryd.com to book a private session, and let's build on what's working, adjust what's not, and shape a life for you that feels aligned, spacious, and magical, designed just for you. Now, before we begin, a quick love note. Everything shared on the Mad Love Your Life show is meant to inspire, not prescribe. I am not your doctor or therapist, but rather your soul sister. So take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and consult the pros for personalized advice that's tailored to you. For starters, I want you to know that this isn't really an episode about coffee. Rather, it's an episode that's about anything you feel like you can't live without. So I was having a conversation with a client the other day, and we were discussing the topic of addiction. And he turned to me and said, I don't quite understand addiction. How do you know if you're actually addicted to something or if it's just something you really like? So I looked up the dictionary definition, which says that addiction is a chronic and treatable medical disease characterized by compulsive engagement in a behavior or use of a substance despite harmful consequences. And it involves complex interactions between brain circuits, genetics, the environment, and life experiences, leading to an uncontrollable craving or use. Now, I don't know about you, but that's all very clinical and heady as a definition. And I thought about it. And what I shared with him is that I have a gauge for addiction. And basically, I see it as anything that has control over you. So this could be an urge to over exercise. It could be the urge to overeat. It could be to undereat, drink alcohol, use drugs, smoke cigarettes, any of those things that you cannot rein in. Now, if you know me, you know that I love boba tea. I love brownies, and I would be sad if both of those things ceased to exist tomorrow. But I could actually live without them. I can exercise self-control when I see these things. I don't have to flee my home during a hurricane to go in search of boba and brownies in order to relax my nervous system. My body will not start to shake or sweat if I don't drink a boba tea or eat a brownie for a week. And coffee takes the fall here in the US for being a highly addictive substance because, well, it is. Caffeine is the most widely used psychoactive substance in the world. And about 90% of adults in the US consume it daily. And that, my friends, is directly from the National Institute on Drug Abuse. So coffee as an addictive substance is more widely accepted because many people truly and actually believe they cannot function without it on a daily basis. And there are people who live with them that would also agree with that statement. You also don't hear about people going on caffeine benders or really see long-term effects of coffee drinkers when you're just looking at them. You can't see someone coming at you and say, wow, their caffeine addiction is really showing on their skin today. There are studies about coffee or caffeine being good for you. And as with most things, I believe the truth is somewhere in the middle. There are probably just as many people who can advocate for one side as they can for the other, whether you're pro or anti coffee. And my musing for you around this is actually not, again, it's not about coffee. It's about whether or not you can function without it before it becomes detrimental to your well-being. And although I'm not a coffee drinker, I'm also not here to poo-poo your love of coffee if that's you. What I'm poo-pooing is the dependence on the caffeine that's created when you become enslaved by caffeine. So too much caffeine affects cortisol. It can lead to adrenal fatigue. It can wreak havoc on your nervous system. And women, it's shown to really mess up our hormones. It can also become an energy trap because you're reaching for that quick hit or burst of energy. And caffeine affects all of us differently and at varying degrees. But for sure, there can be a way for it to start to screw up your body inside when your body becomes dependent on it to function, when it's not your body's natural state of being. So if you've ever experienced, for example, a caffeine headache, it's likely because you drink coffee at the same time every day. And then when you don't or you can't, there's a chemical reaction that happens in your body that usually creates this buildup of pressure that makes your headache. And then your body is also so used to bracing itself for that caffeine hit that happens at 8 a.m. every day. So when it doesn't come on that day you decide not to have it or can't have it, your body actually goes into a little bit of a frenzy because it's bracing for those chemicals and is not getting them. So the question is, who runs the show in your life? And I'm giving you this example of like caffeine and coffee because it's super relatable. Many of you drink some sort of caffeinated drink, maybe many caffeinated drinks, maybe, Monsters or Red Bulls or name the thing, right? And when you think about those things, any kind of substance, anything that you go, oh yeah, I tend to like lean to that. Video games can be so many things, right? When you think about those things that you need, how badly do you need them? Like what shows up for you when we're talking about addiction and things that might be, rearing their head in your life, especially as I bring it up and I say those words. I remember that there's a friend of mine. He was a successful entrepreneur. He loved gaming. He would game all hours of the night. He'd sit down in front of his TV with his headset and a game controller and a six-pack of Red Bull. And that would keep him going for hours and hours. He never thought twice about it. And a few months later, he had to be rushed to the hospital because at the ripe old age of 26, he actually had a heart attack. And why did he have a heart attack? Because of lack of sleep and overstimulation of caffeine, which created so much stress on his system that his heart stopped. And this is a really good example of an addictive behavior. So let's call the addiction to gaming, which led to drinking enough caffeine to sustain his gaming into the wee hours of the morning. That led to his detriment, and it took him a long time to recover from that. It was a really good lesson. And of course, he didn't touch Red Bulls after that. So last night I was having dinner with a client. He has a past with drug addiction, and that led him to on the road to sobriety. We were discussing plant medicines like psilocybin and earth medicine like bufo, and ayahuasca, all of these other psychoactives that he experienced after being over 20 years clean and sober of any hard drugs. So he used to use like hard, really, really hard drugs. And he was sharing that he had some initial judgment around the plant medicines, even as he was diving into those experiences, because it brought up some fear for him. Like, is this going to be, am I going to be addicted to ayahuasca? and and after the fact, after being in these different experiences, he was able to reframe his view on substances that are addictive and abusive versus ones that can creatively inspire, can be insightful, and can be really healing. And many of those things also, even from a clinical methodology, very healing. He also began to understand that substances and intentions are not all created equal. Now, I personally don't love the taste of ayahuasca. I don't get excited to oh, I can't wait to taste that medicine. Even mushrooms, like they don't taste great. But what I do love is I love the insight and I love the healing that happens in my body and in my mind after I partake of those experiences. And when I feel called to those experiences, I also know I can completely live without them. So anything that you can't say no to, it owns you. And I would like to invite you to reflect on what you might unconsciously be dependent on. Most people don't stop to really think about substance abuse. They are just living their life, and poof, one day they or others around them become aware that they're not drinking intentionally. They're drinking, wildly. One of my past clients started his entrepreneurship journey early by dealing drugs when he was in high school. And if I told you how many entrepreneurs I know today who have a similar story, it might or might not shock you. But many successful people leave clues, and those clues are usually early roads to ambition, backed by a lot of hustle and sometimes a little breaking of the law. Anyways, we also were having the addiction conversation because he labels himself as someone who has an addictive personality. And because he loves to party, but also knows this about himself, he has created a system for keeping himself in check. So, as soon as he begins to notice that he might be overindulging, or if he's expelling too much time, thought, and energy on a substance, he stops. He literally stops doing it cold turkey for at least 6 months. And I remember a time when he did this with alcohol. He had stopped cold turkey, and once he got to 6 months, he decided to go for 6 more months. And then he got to a year and decided to go another 6 months. And I think he got to like the 2-year mark. And then finally he was like, okay, you know what? I don't have any problem with alcohol. And actually, I feel better in my body without it. And knowing that he could have that reflection and also ride the train of not doing a substance, I thought was really admirable. There's a commitment to keeping yourself in check and figuring out, where are your edges? Where do they lie? Addictions literally rewire your brain's reward system. By the way, it floods it with dopamine, which is the thing that reinforces habits and cravings. And over time, this can hijack motivation. So breaking addiction means that you have to break the pattern. And for many people, they're going to choose to not necessarily do this sort of like 6-month, 18-month, 2-year alternate reality. For a lot of people, they need to go completely sober because it's something that really overtakes them or has overtaken them in the past. And once they get to the point where they can retrain their brain to no longer respond to those cravings and compulsions, they don't want to go back. The addictive behavior could creep up on them and they are like, no, I don't want that to consume me again. And I think this is, again, part of knowing yourself and knowing the right choice for you. A lot of this is learning to channel that energy and that behavior into something productive. So I, for one, am a fan of people who are addicted to cleaning. My ex was that way, and our house was always immaculately clean and tidy. Definitely appreciated if he was going to be addicted to something, that it would be to be clean and tidy. And you guys know I don't like to leave you hanging with wisdom that you can't use or don't use. So I want us to get into a little bit of integration and application with a couple of journal prompts, or just you spending time alone with your thoughts, because these are both great ways for you to consider what shows up in your life that has power over you, and what would you learn about yourself if you removed this crutch. So I'm going to say it again. What shows up in your life that has power over you, and what would you learn about yourself if you removed it as a crutch? And there is a second layer to that, and that's to go further and ask yourself, where do I reach outside of myself to avoid what's sitting inside of me? Because this is what lots of people do. It's easy to use avoidance as a coping mechanism. We can really busy ourselves with life and use that as an excuse to bypass our feelings. We can use it to escape the discomfort or confrontation of the problem that we keep putting off. And I say this to you because I watched myself do it for years. I did it for years in my marriage. I have always loved to travel, but what I would do is I would travel so much, sometimes stacking one trip on top of the other, to avoid the pain of being at home with a partner who I felt chipped away at my joy because of his unhealed stuff. And if you're the one with the addiction, then know that it doesn't just affect you. It does affect the people that you love and who loves you in ways that you're probably not even considering. If you're also bypassing, you're affecting the people around you and yourself in ways that you may not even be completely aware of. And it's a vicious cycle. So I want to encourage you to give yourself space. Give yourself space to be bored. Give yourself space to sit with grief. Give yourself time to sit with shame, guilt, fear, whatever is coming up for you. I mean, I love positivity, right? I love good vibes. I want that for you. I want it for me. I want it for the world. But true, authentic peace and joy come from being able to look at, to sit with, and to confront all of your demons too. It's in leadership that the crown can get pretty heavy. And that's why we have to be willing to put down the crown and sit in the circle with the people who can hold us up, who can hold our hand, who can witness us when life doesn't look like a rose garden in bloom, when life gets a little thorny and we have to let the old leaves die off to make room for the new ones. This is that time. A good friend of mine has a spouse dying of stage 4 cancer. And this fight has been going on for a long time. It's been a battle with treatments of holistic and traditional methods, just to stay alive as long as she's been alive. And they've been pretty private about their diagnosis. And in our conversation, he was confessing to how isolating it's been for him as the caregiver, because literally they don't leave their home except to go to doctor's visits. No one comes over, groceries get delivered, she can't risk infection. And he carries this huge obligation of running his business and trying to care for her. And I said to him, I am here for you if you need someone to listen. And if it's not me, it really needs to be someone, because otherwise you are bypassing all of the grief that you're holding on to and you are stuffing it down until one day all of that compression is going to build up and cause a massive blowout. And I have such compassion for this situation because although you or I may not be in a situation where we're dealing with an immediate cancer diagnosis or a terminal diagnosis, there could be other things that are seriously weighing on you that you would love to be able to lift off of your shoulders. It could be financial, it could be health related, it could be family and relationship related, it can be lots of things. And studies show that when we suppress emotions, it increases stress, it impairs our memory, and it can even weaken our immune system. So one of the ways that you might be identifying with this is asking yourself, when is the last time that you had a good cry? And if you haven't had one in a while, then that might be a sign that you could be bypassing some of your emotions. Only you and your soul know if that is true for you or not. And if you are wondering where to go to allow yourself a safe space to release your frustrations, your anger, your pain, your stress, you can always start with a good friend, with a therapist or a coach. You might share with a spiritual advisor like a pastor or a shaman. You might start with spending time with yourself, time alone in nature on a mountain or a beach or in the privacy of your living room. Wherever you are in your journey to more self-awareness and intentional living, just know that I'm cheering for you, and I know that you are exactly where you're meant to be and that you can move your life forward at whatever pace you choose. And side note, if your coffee is the one wearing the pants in the relationship, it might be time for a breakup. That's today's show. Thanks for being here with me. Please feel free to share this episode with someone you love. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Until next time, may abundance always walk beside you. May joy always go before you. And may love always light and guide you on your path. Thank you for tuning in to today's show. We air live every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Bold Brave TV. We hope to see you back next week. For more ways to connect with my guests, content, programs, and retreats, just head over to www.marydee.com and subscribe. That's MARYDEE.com.